So, Hassan thinks that Joe is a Republican who's lying or is in denial. I wonder what his reasons are.
Went to the inauguration.
How's that?
Bizarre. But I don't consider myself a Republican. I don't consider myself a
Dog, I'm sorry, but at this stage, that's a wild thing to say. Like, what more can you do? You voted for Donald Trump.
It seemed like a common theme of last year's election were Democrats or liberals switching sides. I don't have the exact data on how many flipped, but I know there were some states that switched from blue to red in this election. Looking into it, I came across this chart from a New York Times article where at the start, it says that more than 89% of counties in the US shifted to voting for Trump. That is a lot of people who changed their vote from Democrat to Republican, and I wonder if Hassan considers all of these individuals Republicans because of that. The article shows these shifts on a map of the US, and here's a comparison. Here's the shift from 2016 to 2020, and you can see a good amount of blue arrows there showing counties going from Republican to Democrat. Now this is a very surface level reading from my part. I should go into detail with things like voter turnout and other aspects in those areas, but my point is that I'm sure there are Democrats who may vote Republican once in a while and vice versa, and I'm sure it's not them abandoning or betraying their home team, but rather in that instance they preferred the other side's policies. And Joe is no exception. In the past, he's been supportive of Bernie Sanders, which somehow still managed to piss people off, and I'm never going to forget an intense exchange between Joe and Dave Rubin on the effectiveness of government regulations in relation to construction companies, or the one he had with Candace Owens on climate change. I always looked at Joe as someone who endorses the policy or candidate if he likes the policy or candidate. I don't think he worries as much as the average person about right or left or Democrat or Republican.
You played a major role in boosting Donald Trump.
Yeah, that is true. Joe Rogan's conversation with Donald Trump sits as his third most viewed episode at 56 million views. And to Hassan's point, 5 of the top 10 most popular episodes are also with right-wingers. A lot of people seem to tune in when he has the likes of Jordan Peterson or friggin' Alex Jones, who appears twice here. But here's the problem I have with Hassan's point on this. Joe was open to having Kamala Harris on the podcast. Kamala had the opportunity to appear on his massive platform. Even if Joe's audience are mostly right-leaning males, it was worth a shot. But everyone knows what happened. Joe tweeted on October 29th of last year, to paraphrase, that the door was still open for Kamala to appear on the podcast, but they were asking him to come to where she was and that the interview was to be an hour. To which he declined, which I gotta admit was really fucking stupid of Harris and her team. They're gonna make demands like that to Joe frickin' Rogan? Why should he leave his studio in Austin at all when Trump and Vance made the time to come to him? It's almost like they realized it was Joe who was giving them the opportunity instead of the other way around, and respected that enough to not act like they were the A side in this equation. Additionally, I came across this Newsweek article from November of last year where Kamala's campaign advisor, Jennifer Palmieri, said some of our progressive staff pushed back, not wanting her on the show and worrying about backlash. So it seems like timing or location wasn't the issue for Kamala Harris, but it was an intentional decision that backfired hard on the campaign.
You literally went to the Donald Trump inauguration.
Well, Joe Rogan did endorse Trump and gave him a helpful platform, but I guess he should have stayed home. Also, does going to a Republican president's inauguration make you a Republican? I'm asking genuinely, and does it work the other way around? If a Republican goes to the inauguration of a Democrat president, does that make him a Democrat? I'm not going to look through hours of footage of inaugurations to see if I could spot people from the opposing team, since it's not that important and it's not Hassan's main point.
Donald Trump thanked you by name multiple times.
Yeah, no shit he'd thank him multiple times. Joe has a huge audience, and I don't think anyone would disagree that the episode helped Trump's campaign a lot, especially with the Harris campaign deciding not to do the episode. This episode helped Trump. Trump thanked him a lot. Ergo, Joe Rogan's a Republican.
Trump thanked you by name multiple times for his victory, credited you with it.
I'm going to call bullshit on that. I googled it looking for something that can confirm, even used ChatGPT, and I couldn't find anything. If anyone's watching this knows where I can find something to confirm that, let me know.
You also interviewed J.D. Vance and numerous other Republican commentators.
He interviewed J.D. Vance. Can you give some evidence showing that Joe was unwilling to provide the same opportunity to Tim Walz? And he's interviewed numerous other Republican commentators. You know what? Hassan's not wrong. I looked at the list of Joe's guests during election season, and other than John Fetterman, he hasn't had a whole lot of notable Democrats. But once again, can you show evidence that Democrat voices reached out to Joe and he refused them in favor of Trump, Vance, and Elon Musk? And let me throw another crazy theory out there. It may or may not be true. Could it be that maybe not that many notable Democrats want to go on Joe Rogan's show? Like, we're all aware of the reputation Joe has garnered, with accusations of racism, misogyny, transphobia, COVID disinformation, toxic masculinity over the years. Is it wild to guess that maybe no other notable Democrats wanted to go on his show during that election season? Does that still make him a de facto Republican? It's really the only point that could be solid. You don't see a whole lot of notable Democrat-leaning guests, and if that's enough for you to label him a Republican, then you do you. I think he makes an effort to not play these what team are you games, and I think if he genuinely gets an opportunity, he wouldn't mind having Democrat voices on his show. I mean, he had Bernie Sanders on his show in June of this year. Unless you think that's his plausible deniability guest, then at that point I can't help you or Hasan.